Imagine you've done everything right. You finished school, you got a job, you pay your bills on time, and every single month, without fail, you send off a payment that keeps a roof over your head. And yet, despite doing all of this responsibly, something feels off. Your bank account doesn't seem to grow the way it should. Your financial position at 30 doesn't look dramatically different from your financial position at 25. You're moving, but you're not moving forward. And the reason why is hiding in plain sight inside the very transaction you consider your most basic adult responsibility. Rent, by its mathematical nature, is a one-directional transfer of wealth. Every dollar you pay disappears entirely from your net worth and reappears inside someone else's. There is no residual, no accumulation, no asset being built quietly in the background. You are purchasing a time-limited right to occupy a space. And when that time expires, you own exactly as much of that space as you did before you moved in, which is nothing. This isn't a moral judgment about renting. It's simply a description of the mechanical reality underneath it. What makes this particularly powerful as a wealth trap is that it doesn't feel like losing. It feels like managing. You have shelter, you have stability, you have a functioning adult life. But behavioral economists have studied extensively how humans systematically underweight slow, continuous losses compared to sharp, sudden ones. A single large financial hit registers as a crisis. A steady monthly drain registers as a normal cost of living. Rent lives entirely in that second category, which is precisely why its long-term wealth effect is so rarely examined with the seriousness it deserves. Consider the compounding dimension of this. A person paying $1,200 a month in rent at age 25 will, by age 45, have transferred approximately $288,000 to a landlord, assuming no rent increases, which is itself an unrealistic assumption, because rent, historically, does increase. In most urban markets over the past 2 decades, rents have grown faster than wages, meaning the percentage of income consumed by housing has expanded over time, leaving a progressively smaller share available for saving, investing, or building any form of asset base. The trap doesn't stay the same size. It grows. The systemic layer beneath this is worth understanding clearly. Property ownership concentrates over time in economies where asset prices rise faster than income growth. As that concentration increases, a larger share of the population occupies the renter position, paying monthly into a system that transfers wealth upward by design, not by accident. The landlord isn't a villain in this structure. They're simply the person who entered the asset side of the equation earlier, and the system rewards asset ownership with appreciation, tax advantages, and the ability to leverage existing equity into further acquisition. The renter, by contrast, receives none of those compounding benefits because their monthly payment purchases consumption, not ownership. This is where psychology and economics intersect in a way that keeps people stuck. Home ownership, or any form of asset acquisition, requires a meaningful upfront capital threshold that feels impossibly large when you're already spending a significant portion of your income on rent. The very system that extracts your wealth monthly also raises the barrier to exit. Saving a down payment while renting in a high-cost city isn't impossible, but the math requires deliberate, sustained compression of spending in a way that most people's psychological relationship with money, shaped by present bias and social consumption norms, makes genuinely difficult to maintain over years. What shifts for people who eventually break out of this cycle isn't usually a sudden income windfall. More often, it's a change in how they read the numbers. They stop seeing rent as a fixed cost of adulthood and start seeing it as a variable, something to be minimized, relocated, or restructured. They begin treating the gap between income and housing cost as the most important number in their financial life, because it is. That gap, maintained over time and directed toward assets, is the only mechanism available to someone without inherited wealth to begin moving from the consumption side of the economy toward the ownership side. The rent trap isn't a personal failure. It's a structural feature of how modern economies distribute wealth across time. Understanding it doesn't immediately change your situation, but it changes the decisions you make inside that situation. And over a long enough horizon, that difference in decisions is the entire ballgame.